Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to our second episode in this series with Katie. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here again.
Yeah.
I love the first series.
Me
It
too.
was so much fun.
That was fun.
And I hope that those of you that were able to see it, enjoy it, and learn something useful.
Yeah. I'm Susan Stiffelman. You know, this is Byron Katie, and we're going to be talking today more about parenting and about how we can use the work to step into a place with our children. I call it being captain of the ship, but in a place that is not fueled by our own stressful beliefs and stories and thoughts. And those are the things that disempower us from showing up for our kids in the way that they want to respond, they want to be cooperative, they want to be open to our input and our advice. It's interesting. Last night I did a workshop in Los Angeles. It was a 2-hour workshop on parenting with presence. And I talked, I was telling Katie before we began, just watching people take a little bit of these ideas, just a small dose of it, and seeing the transformation, the shift that can happen.
Yeah. You're talking about inquiry.
Yeah.
Answer the, it's the shift is... It's amazing, and it's so quick. It's the power of truth. And we were talking earlier, and I was sharing my experience with Susan, that those shifts just get us in touch with what we already know, and they stand out. It's like we had never considered them, so they come to the front. And we wonder sometimes why they're not always available to us, this wisdom that we discovered as we are doing the work. And they're there, they're dominant, but the ego, what we're still thinking and believing, overrides those truths, those shifts, that wisdom. But eventually, it all starts to level out, and then that wisdom, rather than being overridden, is at the top. And it's kind of like that, but it's the work is a practice.
I love that you're saying that, because so many parents, they get introduced to something that makes a lot of sense. It resonates in all of their cells. Wow, I want to do it that way. Mm-hmm. But in the practical moments, we do kind of falter, we lose our way. And so the idea that those moments add up.
Yeah, and those moments that we lose our way, they show us what we have not worked yet.
Yes.
And we begin to notice their moments rather than it feels like our entire life when we're in it. And as parents, we can feel like such failures and experience so much guilt around the things we say and do as a result of what we're thinking and believing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I talk about this idea in my books called Snapshot Child Syndrome. I don't think I talked about it last week. So I ask parents to imagine that you're holding a snapshot of your ideal child. And this is the child who, when you say, it's time to do your homework, says, oh, gosh, Mom, thanks for reminding me, right? Or, honey, will you take out the trash? I'd love to. And that actually when we lose our cool, it's not that our child won't take out the trash or start their homework. It's because we think they should. Mm-hmm. It's the mismatch between the snapshot and the actual real child. And that's what the work is so beautiful at exposing, are the stories that helps us throw the snapshot away.
We have this perfect child, like the snapshot, looking at it another way, this perfect child and smiling, and we just feel so much love. And then we have the thought, they don't take out the trash. I always have to become angry before they shift into just taking out the trash. Well, that child, the one standing there, the one you're looking at, is completely innocent. What you're believing about the child and superimpose upon that child in your own mind, that's the disconnect.
Yes.
And so if we were not believing, even though we're having these negative thoughts about them, about the past, but if we're not believing, they still come through, but they have no power. Thoughts don't have judgments don't have power until we believe them, and that is where they become so powerful. Thoughts are innocent. So actually, the mind happens. The mind is it doesn't stop. It's going all the time. So if you're just witnessing that because you've done inquiry, you no longer believe them, here's your perfect child. the story that's running. You don't superimpose upon them. You just notice the story has nothing to do with the other. And when you're not thinking and believe, you say, sweetheart, would you please take out the trash? And they go, I don't want to. It's not my turn. You say, I hear that. And would you take out the trash? Because the child, you're awake enough to understand this child has not really understood the question. So as you understand, your child begins to understand. And finally, their answer will either be yes or no. But if I'm talking a lot.
Yeah, keep going. This is so relevant.
But if the work is 4 questions and we turn the concept we're questioning around. So if I've turned it around and my child, I would rather take out the trash than do war and have really intimate conversations like the one I just described. Like, will you take out the trash? I don't want to. They haven't heard the question yet. Would you take out the trash? I don't want to. And I hear you don't want to. But in all of that, do I want the trash out or not? That's what I need to know. I need to be in touch with myself. Is it about me winning and losing with this child? Yeah. Or is it about, do I want the trash out? So if I'm just not getting anywhere there, I say, I think we're at an impasse here. And what I know is that the trash is smelling or it's overflowing. And I really like our home this way, when the trash isn't like that. So I think I'll take out the trash. And next time, I'd like you to participate. I can't put a lot of words into a child's mouth. It's all hypothetical, of course, but it's how I began to raise my children, and it really works. I tell the story for years, my children had the socks on the floor, and for years we would argue, pick up your socks, we'd argue about it. And then when the work found me, I questioned what I believe. I'm the one that wanted the socks off the floor. I'm the one with the problem. My children did not have that problem. So when I turned it around, I want them to pick up the socks. Turned around, I want me to pick up the socks. I looked on the floor. It was magically clean, magically uncluttered. It's what I always wanted for their rooms. And it was like I was so joy-filled that they began to, I joke about it. It's like they thought the magic was in the socks, or something, but we all began to pick up the socks. So it's a matter of living as an example. And the mind would say, well, if I take out the trash, I'm not teaching them to do it. Well, yes, I am. And I'm teaching them to do it as a privilege, as a contribution, as a way of serving. And no, they don't have to. But when we're at war, notice, do they always do it anyway, especially when they're teenagers? Occasionally they'll slam the door and shut the door on their room and it goes from bad to worse. So do I want peace or do I want war? And if I want peace, then, and some of you want peace, I'll just leave it with me. I wanted peace, and I learned to live as an example, and I wasn't doing that on purpose. I was just living out of a state of service, and my child, all 3 of my children found that way, and their children are finding their way. It's what we pass on. It's what we're passing on, what we're thinking and believing, and how we live out of that. That's what we pass on.
I love that because I use this analogy of pushing against. And when you have the need, when you have the story, he should take out the trash. And it is a war. It's a war. Mm-hmm. And I talk about coming at, which you do when you have the story. Mm-hmm. They should. How are they going to grow into a responsible adult? Then the story goes further. No one's going to want to be my son's roommate in college. No one will marry him because he's such a slump. Whereas when you come alongside and you just live in the place of connection and joy and not needing something, but the atmosphere changes, the whole feeling in the room, the aroma with which you make the request comes across so differently. Yeah. Sweetheart, I really get that you taking out the trash isn't much fun. Yeah. And, there's so many
Unless
angles
you think it's fun yourself. In which case, you can't even say that.
That's true. You could really have a great time. Gosh, the house smells so much better when that trash is in here. And that's
and
a satisfaction
also the trip.
of just walking out to the cans.
Trip, yeah, just
great. That's great.
And the worst that can happen is we're walking away from the argument with the trash in our hand and something constructive is getting done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So this is it. And, last night, one of these parents summed up at the end of this workshop, and we did talk about the work in addition to other things. And she said, I think what I'm understanding is that when I clean up what's going on inside me, everything changes with my child. It's not about changing the child. I said, bingo.
Yeah, everything changes in the way we see our child. We see our child differently when we question what we're believing about our children.
Right. Yeah. So should we tell people about the worksheet?
Yeah. So let's start with April.
Okay.
So we don't have April yet. So
we have this might be an opportunity, and if not now, so we want you to enjoy the webcast. And I'm going to offer in something that you may want to do or you can do later. You can certainly watch this replay. That on thework.com is a link, and we may be putting that up in the chat box, where you can actually be provided with a free worksheet, Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, that Katie can walk us through and does many, many times, changed my life. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but the first time I came to hear you, my friend Sally Galway brought me. I sat in the back. Everyone in the room filled out a worksheet, which we're inviting people to do here or a little bit later on. And you said, who would like to read their worksheet? And I shot my hand up, not knowing what I was in for.
Yeah.
And I read it, and you said, would you like to come do the work? And I said, sure.
Yeah.
And my life just radically changed.
Yeah. Was that the workshop where we had the children there?
No, it wasn't. It was many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And my story was about how someone shouldn't lie, and you said they shouldn't lie. Is it true? I said, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, my whole brain had been reconfigured, it felt like.
It's like it really does get rewired.
Yeah.
These the questions are like a gateway into higher truths, that wisdom that is within every single one of us. It is so difficult to tap into and hear because these judgments are overriding the wisdom that is. It's just, how can we hear it when our mind is just moving so quickly in judgment? And those judgments are fearful, and those negative judgments are fearful because they go against our kinder hearts or our kind nature. So that's always going to feel like stress when we're at war with what isn't like us.
I remember running into Dr. Daniel Amen at one of your workshops, and I said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm studying the work because he was, I never actually followed up, but looking at the possibility of it actually changing how the brain is wired.
Yeah.
So we have such an interesting first question, and I thought maybe you could just read it through. It's from April, who...
Okay, so that's a good idea. So April from California... she sent an email that said, I feel like I have been swallowed alive by motherhood. In the rest of my life, I can usually set healthy boundaries, care for myself, and be present for others. Ever since my son was born, he's almost 2, I am amazed to find myself struggling with simple daily self-care and feel overrun with the demands of meeting his needs. I'm in a constant state of survival, it seems. The guilt of being away from my son so much, I work full time, and the exhaustion of 2 straight years of sleepless nights leave me with zero energy or perspective. I also feel so much love and joy. My heart has been torn wide open by this journey of motherhood. And at the same time, I know I could be more present and much more balanced if I could do a better job of caring for myself. How can a new mother like me, working and raising little one, find a way back to balance, to caring for herself? If you feel the weight of guilt, when you're experiencing guilt, I invite all of us just to get in touch with what that feels like. And so, April, are you there, honey?
I am.
Hi. So good to have you, and thank you for your email. I know that it's up for, I don't know what parent hasn't been through what you've written about. So, what I really got from your email, many things, but the guilt of being away from your son. Mm-hmm. So what I invite all of you to do, as I invite April, I invite all of us to, or all of you, I don't have one in front of me, but to identify a moment in time where you were experiencing guilt, the guilt of being away from your child. Okay, so are you sitting at your desk at work, as a full-time mother, or are you on your way to work when you have this? Again?
Yeah. Usually when I drop him off, he doesn't cry anymore, but he used to cry a lot when I would drop him off at daycare. So he would be reaching out and saying, "Mama, mama, mama," and here I am.
Okay.
He's my baby.
Oh, yeah. So there's that moment in time. You see that situation where you're dropping him off and he's crying. Mm-hmm. You see that situation? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I invite all of you to find your own situation, your own moment in time when you were feeling guilty from being away from your son. Now, April, on statement number 1 on the worksheet, it would sound something like, I feel guilty because I have to be away from my son too much. And that came from your email. So isn't that it? In that moment in time?
I feel guilty that I'm choosing something besides him.
Okay.
When I'm dropping him off with someone else, and I'm choosing my work in that moment.
Exactly. Okay, so you feel guilty because you're away from him. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now let's look at statement number 2. Statement number 2 on that Judge Your Neighbor worksheet are the wants. So April, in that moment in time, what did you want? So all of you get into your moment in time and get in touch with what you were thinking and believing then. What we're doing here is we're going back. We're remembering a time when we were guilty. And because we're remembering it, we see images. You see you there handing your baby over or just dropping him off and turn around and leaving. You see that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now get in touch with, in that moment in time, what did you want? Because as we collect the thoughts that we were thinking in those moments of stress, we can question them today. Mm-hmm. And we can shift the entire reality of that past, which shifts our entire future for always. This is, as Susan says, it's really that powerful. So what did you want in that moment in time as you witness the baby crying and you moving away to work? I want
to be able to stay with him.
Yes.
And I want to be able to go.
Yeah. So just in that moment in time, you weren't thinking, and what? I want to be able to stay with him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And now let's look at statement 3, advice. Let's look at he should, he shouldn't. In that moment in time, what was going through your head? He should know that I care. He should understand that I am doing my best to support a better life.
Yeah, he should know that I do important work in the world.
There.
He should know I still love him, even when I choose to be at work.
Excellent. He should know I still love him.
He should know he actually does come first.
He should know he actually does come first. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He should know that he actually does come first. Okay, so I'm just experiencing that. So I worked full time with 3 children, so I really am relating to this. Now we go to statement 4 on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. And what needs do you see there? What do you need to be happy in that moment in time when he's crying and you're leaving him?
I need to know.
He needs, or I need, that's fine, I need.
I need to know that he knows he's loved.
Excellent.
I need to know that I'm not doing permanent damage to him.
Good. Yeah. Basically, when you get down to it, I need to know that I need to know I'm not doing permanent damage to him. Okay. And what was the other need you had? It was shorter. I need him to know that he is loved.
Yeah.
Isn't that it? I really feel that one too. Okay. So now 5, looking at his little face, he's crying in that situation. What were your thoughts about him? He's
upset. He thinks he's being abandoned. He
thinks he's being abandoned.
He doesn't understand that I love him.
Excellent.
He feels like I'm betraying him.
I wonder if she feels he's demanding.
Susan just said, did you, anyway, we'll just go with what, yeah. And so now on statement number 6, the last one on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, what is it that you never want to experience about that situation again?
I never want to feel like I'm causing him so much pain.
Yeah.
I never want to feel like I'm giving him the message that something else is more important than him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I never want him to feel that, like, pain of separation. Like, he needs, and I'm just not there for him.
Yeah. Okay, so, and those of you that are still filling in your Judge Your Neighbor worksheet or wanted to, and we're focused on April, you can always do this. You can do this later. It's never too late. You know, when do I need freedom? In the moment I'm stressed, and that's what this work is about. Yeah. So we identify our thoughts, question them, and turn them around. So April, let's look at statement number 1, and let's take a deeper look as we question what you were believing in the moment. So you have to be away from your son too much. Is that true?
Honestly, it feels true.
Okay, so that's a yes. So is it I have to be away from my son too much, or I am away from my son too much? Which one is stronger for you?
I am away from my son.
Yeah. So you're away from your son too much. Can you absolutely know that it's true that you're away from your son too much? And those of you at home, your first answer might be yes. This work is, we meditate on these questions. We contemplate them because our ego always, it'll speak first. So you're away from your son too much. Can you absolutely know that it's true that you're away from your son too much?
No.
So just feel that. And some of you are still at yes. And we're all where we should be. This is personal work. So now that third question, April, notice in that situation, notice how you react when you believe this thought, I'm away from him too much.
Oh, yeah.
It's heart-wrenching.
Yeah. It feels terrible. And it makes me less focused at work, and it makes me less available to him when I am with him. And it makes me just feel terrible about myself. And
as you're in touch with that, notice the energy that it takes. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
You said in your email that it leaves you with zero energy or perspective.
That's what it feels like a lot of the time.
So that's how you react when you believe the thought. You're left with this feeling of like it's a kind of depression or exhaustion, really, that we experience as a result. And our perspective in that moment is just gone.
Right.
Because we're back at the nursery.
Yeah.
And our body's on our way to work.
Right.
So, of course, we've lost perspective. Okay, so now look around you in that situation. And I like to close my eyes when I'm answering this one. In fact, I like to do it with all of them. But for this one in particular, it shows me a lot. Who would you be without the thought in that same situation that I'm away from my son too much? Look at him cry. Drop your story. Now look at the people around him. Are they taking him? Are they holding him? Is he okay? Even though he's crying, other than what you're thinking and believing, is he in good care?
Yes, of course.
So I'm away from my son too much. Turn it around.
I'm not away from my son too much.
Okay. So in that situation, give me an example. I'm not away from my son too much.
I really prioritize him when I'm home.
Yeah.
I don't check my email. I don't answer my phone. I'm really present. I make sure that is his time.
Yeah. Yeah, I love, well, you said it just mothering, your baby just blown your heart wide open.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I so relate to that. So I am not away from my son too much. I have one. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah.
In that situation, I'm not away from my son. I'm there. And I don't want to miss it. I have to be at work all day. And I don't care if he's crying or laughing. I don't want to miss it. This is my time with him.
Yeah.
And look at him crying. His diaper's changed. He's been fed. He's in good hands.
Wow.
I really felt that.
Yeah. So I'm away from my son too much. I'm not away from my son too much. You know, I don't know how relevant this is from your position, but there are mothers who don't work that are raising a child that would love to get away.
Yeah.
So it could be beyond what you know. You've got some balance running in your life, and it's really worth being aware of as we continue. So let's go to statement 2. I want to be able to stay with him. Okay? So look at him. He's crying. You're at daycare. You see him? And you're all ready for work. You want to be able to stay with him. Is it true? Look at the work you do in the world.
Yeah, that's why I said I want to stay and I want to go. I think that's the source of the guilt. Is like, I do want to stay with him.
So let's take a look from that moment in time. We're going to look back.
Okay.
What you say, yes, and I want to be able to stay with him. When I'm looking at him, he's in good care, and he's crying. He wouldn't notice if I held him anyway. He's going to cry for them. He's going to cry for me. Could happen. Now, do I want to go to work, or do I want to take advantage of this daycare? You know what I really want to do, and you know, I really take a look here. Let's see this screaming baby or work. And we're just talking about a moment in time. This isn't forever. It's just I want to know what I was thinking and believing then. Was I deceiving myself, and what else was there?
I see.
has nothing to do with how I love my child.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with reality and my work in the world and why I'm doing it and how my child benefits and other people benefit and how would I benefit in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And for some of us as parents, the daycare people are more trained with children than we are.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just things to notice. So I want to be able to stay with him turned around.
I want to be able to go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, happily go to work.
Mm-hmm. And if we keep the same words, I want to be able to stay with me and my job.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to love my child and support my child and to do this good work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I want to be able to stay with me, I think, is the actual source of my guilt.
That runs.
Not that I think that he's actually going to be psychologically damaged by going to daycare, but that I am choosing myself or something that's important to me in that moment.
You feel that? I want to be able to stay with myself. I'm mentally over there, and my life is here, even if that's just 2 feet away. I'm mentally living over there, and my real life is right here. I want to be able to stay with me. You know, the 3 kinds of business. Whose business is it if my daughter is having a hard time? You know, she's in her 40s now, but that's her business. Whose business is it if I'm having a hard time? That's my business. So when I'm mentally in her business, then there's no one here for me. So when I notice that, it brings me back to my business, and from there I can make changes in the world. I can call her, or I could hold her and say goodbye again and smile, and as that infant.
Can I offer
Yes.
a comment? April, I had another thought from perhaps a slightly different vantage point, just to add in. When we're ambivalent about where we should be in any moment, should I be at work, should I be here with my child? And our child has the best radar. And so that confusion inside yourself may actually be contributing to his upset because he's sensing you're not actually sure where you should be. You're not really with yourself. We know that there's parents who are home with their children from morning to night that aren't really present with them. So it's not a geography issue so much as can you be lined up with where you are? And when children, it's not to say that sometimes there's a reason to follow through and explore what might be making him unhappy, making sure that the daycare, but we're assuming that you feel great about it. Mm-hmm. But then if your child senses your uncertainty, your ambivalence, your difficulty in just joining with yourself, then he may be announcing for you on your behalf very loudly and dramatically something that allows you to sort of explore that, sort of what you're saying.
Yeah, they certainly do mirror us.
Yeah.
So let's look at statement 3. He should know that you care. Is it true? How old was he at the time? He's just 2 now.
1.
Okay, so at 1 year old, your child should know that you care. Is it true? That's such a huge question.
It's really hard. Because
yes, it is.
As parents, as a mother, don't you feel like the time you put in is like accruing, right? Like, he should know I love him.
Yeah.
How many nights do I get up with him? How much snuggling do we do together? Like, I really believe that thought.
Yeah.
I mean, see how.
So your answer is yes, that little 1-year-old baby should know that you care.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you react? What happens when you believe the thought he should know that I care and he's crying and you need to go to work?
Yeah, I feel frustrated. I feel frustrated and a little bit resentful, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, you know, I see it so clearly because I've been in this position so many times. It's like, he should know I care. He's this baby. And I see me going, oh, honey, I can, you know, I'm going to be back. And I'm talking to this infant that doesn't even know his name yet. Also, I feel better.
Yeah.
It is all about me. He should know that I care.
Right.
So just to notice this, because, I so notice this. You know, I am just fearless at these inquiries as I see how I treat my baby when I believe that thought. And how I try to manipulate the way others see me when I believe that thought. And how I manipulate myself to feel more comfortable using my baby to do it. That's a lot for some of us to look at, but I've got a little time in this, and it's really something to meditate on, how we react when we believe the thought that anyone should know that I care at any age. So, sweetheart, imagine, you know, be there in that situation. Who would you be without the thought, he should know that I care? As you witness him crying, look at his sweet little face, maybe his little tears, and look at him. And does he even know you're in the room? He should know that I care. Who would you be without that thought? Just witnessing your baby, connected.
I just feel a lot of freedom.
Yeah, and isn't he precious?
Yeah.
He should know that I care, turned around. What is the opposite of he should know?
I should know.
Well, let's turn around. He should not know that I care.
He should not know.
Yeah, so what does that mean to you, considering he's 1 year old?
Just that he's too young in that moment to have a larger perspective. I mean, he's one. So in that moment, maybe it does feel to him like it's the end of the world that I'm walking out of the room.
And it could feel like it's he has colic.
Right.
You know, it could be he was warm in your arms and it was a little chilly in the room and he changed arms.
Right.
I mean, we're so busy thinking for our children, we don't know. we have no idea, so we disconnect.
Right. I love that piece about not being connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? It's really hard to stay connected when your child is crying.
Yeah.
And that I am causing that, or that my choices are causing his pain, makes it almost impossible to stay connected.
It does. Yeah. I think that we're getting somewhere.
Nobody wants to feel that. But when you say, who would I be when I didn't believe it, I think then I would be able to
connect
with him and also with myself. And when I give myself, whatever, a workout.
Yes, and that compassion goes both ways.
Yeah. It's so important.
And it's ironic because what you're pointing out to me is that these thoughts that I'm believing are not really about him. So when I'm stuck in the guilt, I think that I'm doing it for him.
Yeah. And
but what you're pointing out is it's actually more about me.
Yes. Completely about you.
Which is really, that really puts the spotlight on me, because if it's about you anyway, then you might as well be treating yourself with compassion.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, well, maybe taking an hour to do the workout is actually a totally reasonable thing to do.
Yes. And then as your baby grows, they don't have to worry about poor mommy is a mess.
Right.
And so that kind of goes with what Susan was pointing out earlier about, our children, I use the term mirroring us back.
Right.
I was thinking about how then when your child gets older and has his own things to do, he doesn't have to feel guilty for leaving you.
Yeah.
Because you've modeled, that we each get to live our lives as true to ourselves as we can be.
They learn who they are and how to live in the world by what we teach through example. what we're thinking and believing.
That is one thing that has made it easier for me to stay connected with my work. Yeah. Exactly what Susan just said about, when he grows up.
Yep.
It's all the things that he's seeing now about having a strong, intelligent mother.
Yeah.
And it's also all of the things that it's taking the responsibility off of him.
Yes.
I have a life. I have a passion. I have work in the world. I love him more than anything, but he doesn't have to be my everything. So that I feel really strongly about. And it was hard at first when he was littler, but it's getting easier.
Yeah.
But really what you're pointing out to me is that the other guilts and sort of my inability to give myself that time and that attention, it's not benefiting him.
No. Anytime you're experiencing guilt, your head is off.
Wow. Will you repeat that?
Anytime you're feeling guilt, your head is off. Guilt is like the kindest emotion to show you. It's like a little temple bell that says it's time to notice what you're thinking and believing.
God.
Identify it, put it on paper, and then when you have time, question it. It's our thinking that's off, not our child. So let's look at, he should know that I care, and turn it around where you were going, April, originally with it, your turnaround. I should know that I care about him. I should walk out of the room and he's okay, and that doesn't mean that I don't love him. Yeah, I should know that I care. And as you're looking at him without your story, you do. But when you put the story on him, you don't. Mm-hmm. It's all about you. That's really powerful. I can feel the layers of stuff in between me and him when you say that. Yeah. When I look at him and I'm believing all this other stuff about me. I'm not a good mother. I'm not doing this right. I can't take another day. Whatever is going on. I have all this stuff to do at work that I'm not doing. It's like all this, he's there and I'm here. Yeah. And babies cry. It's not about us. Yeah. And they laugh and we think that's about us too.
That's great.
So he should know that I care. So he should understand that I am doing the best to support a better life. So at 1 year old, he should understand that. Is it true? No. And notice what happens when you believe that thought in that situation at childcare. I just feel really powerless and frustrated. And look what you're putting on that child. He's got enough trouble. He's got colic or something. or the temperature was too dramatic a change and he's just getting used to the differences. Mm-hmm. He should understand that I am doing my best to support a better life. So, sweetheart, with all the love in your heart, turn it around. I should understand. Mm. Sorry. I should understand. I should understand that I'm doing the best I can to support us having a better life. Yes. Yeah. Mama's crying. You know, the kind of tears that go on, you know, as we're doing inquiry like this, those tears, it's like a kind of cleansing that happens that's really important to honor and to feel and allow. So after this call, I really invite you just to be still and even holding your baby and just feel the love, you know, that connectedness. And so he should understand that I'm doing my best to support a better life. He should not. He should not understand that I'm doing my best to support a better life. No. And I have children. I have one that's 52 years old. My gosh, 52 years old. And then two other younger, the youngest being 46. And I still don't believe that they should understand that I'm doing my best to support a better life. I don't want to put that on them. Mm-hmm. It's all about me.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I often think, well, maybe when he's in high school he'll see, or maybe when he grows up he'll understand.
So that's
also what I need.
That's just, it's using our children to feel better. Mm-hmm. But we don't have to wait, and we don't ever have to be disappointed when we know how to question what we're believing. It restores us to sanity, and sanity is balance. So I should understand that I'm doing my best to support a better life, and if that's not enough, why would I think it would be good for him? So he should know that you do important work in the world. Is that true?
No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, good. So turned around?
He should not know that I do important work.
Yeah.
And it's not his job to know.
It's not. He's got enough to deal with. He's got to learn his name eventually. And then he's got to understand that it's only his name because he's believing it. Right now he's very clear. He doesn't need one. So, sweetheart, he should understand that you do important work in the world. Turned around.
I should understand that I do important work.
Yes, you do. In that daycare center, in that situation, you're doing very important work in the world. You're loving your child, and you're loving the other work you do in the world, and that's balance.
The other thing that's really resonating with me that you said is that I have a degree of balance. I think, to me, balance means that it always feels good, and I always am doing all those things on my checklist, and every day. Uh-huh. Say I've taken care of him, I've taken care of my career, and then I've taken care of myself.
I can do all of those things perfectly, and it's not going to give me balance. What I am thinking and believing about my life and my children's life, that's the only balance that I've ever been able, that is the balance, a balanced mind.
Yeah.
Because believing these thoughts that we have just looked at, April, when you're believing those, it doesn't matter if your checklist is complete.
Right.
The baby's going to cry. You're going to put this insanity on him inside of you. And it is, it really is, it's a prescription for misery. He doesn't know how much I care. He doesn't understand that I'm doing the best I can, and he's only one. Imagine, those of us that have teenagers, we continue the same thoughts. So it's not our children that are the problems. What we're believing that we put on our children that is the cause at any age.
And then we can fold into that. I don't know if this is true for you. What are people thinking of me? What does my mother-in-law think of me for working outside the home? And I'm not saying everyone should work, we don't have a position on where some parents want to be full-time with their children, and others are drawn and called or need to work. But to be aware of the approval, not only that from your child, but your neighbor, your mother-in-law, the baby group that you're part of, that the freedom comes from trusting your own path without asking others to, kind of give you the stamp of approval. And does that fold into the...
That's a huge one, although for me it feels more internal than that.
Yeah.
It's definitely...
Yeah, I was going to say, even doing our best, if we're believing these thoughts, we're just we're just trying to balance as opposed to being balanced.
I can feel it in the energy when I think about the difference between like trying hard. I mean, like trying hard to make sure that I did everything, that I checked all the boxes, that everything is okay, and then I have everything handled, versus like just knowing like maybe today I didn't go to the gym, or maybe today I spent an hour walking by myself because that's what I needed, and my son didn't see me for that hour.
Yeah.
And the fact that that doesn't maybe look like I checked all the boxes and I have this perfect balance, but if that's what I needed in that moment, then that is balance.
And you talk about, you've done everything, to that you can to deal with life, but that's what your baby was doing. He was dealing with life. That's his, and yours is yours. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to disconnect as they're dealing with their life.
Oh, should we move on?
So he should know I do important work in the world. We see that's not true. He should know that you still love him, even though you're leaving. Is that beginning to sound ridiculous to you?
Yeah, it's starting.
Yeah. He actually does come first. No, not in this moment.
Right.
It's like he's first. I'm going to work. That's first. I'm picking him up. That's first. I mean, it's just you as you're doing your checklist, it's important. But what you're thinking and believing, that's where you're going to hold perspective and energy.
Might be good to move on.
Okay, so let's go to the next one.
The next caller?
Okay, so Susan wants,
we can wrap her up. I just know that we should probably do one.
Okay, so let's do that. So, sweetheart, he is upset, thinks he is being abandoned, doesn't understand I love him, feels that I'm betraying him. He feels that you're betraying him. Is that true?
No.
Good. So the things we believe that cause depression, cost us our energy and perspective, become laughable.
Right.
So I'll turn this around for you as I imagine you don't have it on your screen. See if this feels truer. I am upset. I think he's being abandoned.
Yeah.
I'm the one not understanding that I love him. And I'm the one that doesn't understand that he loves me. He doesn't know, he's not identified enough not to be just pure love. So that's across the board. And I feel that I'm betraying him. And in that, I'm betraying me. It's a slip of mind. So I don't ever want to feel like I'm giving him the message that he isn't important. I'm willing to.
I'm willing to give him the message that he isn't important.
And I look forward to.
Oh my God, that's a really hard one.
Well, it could happen again. That's what this is about. You could think this thinking, what you're still believing, could arise as unfinished business. And then you're going to think that thought again. You're going to feel those emotions. They're completely disempowering, very disempowering. And that will remind you it's time to question, identify and question what you're believing. And become the best parent to yourself that you ever could be. And that's the best example for your child.
That's where you look forward to it.
Yeah, look forward to. Thank you, April.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff. You're amazing. Again, those of you, to my mind, rare beings. Bye-bye. Those of you rare beings that can actually come on the program like this, and with these children in your lap, I just don't know that I ever could have done that. I wouldn't have had the courage to even work through it. So thank you, April. If you can do it, we can all do it. Thank you.
Thank you, April.
Mwah. I'm so impressed.
Oh my gosh. So much happened in that call, and so much, so much can happen with such a small, slight shift.
Yeah, and it can feel so, at first, on what you shared earlier about it, just like it just shifts it's like a whole other paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And I'll use that term. It's just like you're in one world, all of a sudden you're in another. And it makes more sense. And it's like where have I been all my life? it's this shifting back to right-mindedness. Freedom is our birthright, and we only get that when the mind understands itself.
Sometimes just by way of helping some of you who might not be familiar with the work, so you just saw Katie run through the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, the 6 questions.
And it can seem very cruel at first because it can feel unkind. It can feel like, I want nothing to do with this. Are they crazy? But just take a deep breath, and it's okay to think that I'm crazy or that you do whatever you do with it. But maybe you'll hear one thing today that could just make the tiniest shift in your beautiful life. So.
And, I just had this image of when people transport in time and their body arrives and then the rest of them have to sort of catch up. So in a way, your heart may resonate with something and your intellect may still be saying, what do you mean I look forward to, or what do you mean my son shouldn't know that I love him? Don't take this as face value, because this isn't about the words or the dissecting of it logically. Yeah. It's about a much, much deeper realization of what is true.
It's all about, do I really want to know the truth? Because what we're up against is our ego. Yeah. And do I really want to know the truth? And it is the truth that sets me free. So it's something to contemplate, as we continue.
So I believe we have another wonderful caller, Cynthia from Hawaii. Cynthia, are you there?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi,
Aloha.
Cynthia.
Hi, Katie. Good to see you again. Nice to meet you, Susan.
Nice to meet you, too. I love your question.
Here's my snapshot.
Oh my
that's your little Asher.
Oh, my gosh.
Asher, nighttime crasher.
I write this column for the Huffington Post every week, and I can't tell you how many people write in with your problem. So I'm so happy that you wrote it.
Pig.
Yes.
So, Cynthia, read your worksheet.
Oh, it's so hard to read it after listening to doing the work. You're right. It seems so absurd. I'm like, I'm not frustrated with him.
Yeah, but the ego also will tell us. I don't hear this from you, but it reminds me of my own experience. The ego will tell us, "Oh, I don't believe that," or "Oh, it just seems ridiculous to me now." But that is the ego's way, in my experience, of saying, okay, as soon as I hear that, I just think, I can always identify what I was thinking and believing. It doesn't matter how free I am. Right. I can always get still and identify. As long as we can remember, we think we're remembering anything. We can go to that situation, identify what we're thinking and believing, and see those images. And
Cynthia, I was at a workshop once with Katie, and I had done the work enough times that I sort of knew where it was going. She had us fill out fill out the worksheet. And as I was starting my first sentence, it was, Bob shouldn't. And I don't really think that. 'Cause I kept canceling them out because I knew ultimately I was going to have to look at how I was showing up for them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So when the nighttime routine when we're in the midst of the nighttime routine, I'm like, I'm so frustrated with him. And then as soon as you put it on paper, as soon as I put it on paper, it's like, wow, this is so absurd. Like I am insane while I'm doing this. So, but this is the part of the work which makes it really powerful. And I so look forward to being free from it. So
I just, your freedom shifts everyone, everywhere, in every language, because every time you do the work, the world becomes kinder through you. You become a kind of human being. It goes so far. I get excited just to, I am this woman from this little desert town that agoraphobic, can't leave her home, just desperately depressed, and to be here with you today just because I discovered something valuable inside of me. And I'm watching this happen with other people in inquiry all over the world. It's not a little thing. And even if we never leave our home and we get clear, we're kinder to the mailman, it makes a difference because it's passed on and on. And so Cynthia, even though it may seem,
I know.
Yeah. So let's hear what you wrote.
So I am frustrated with Asher, who's my 4.5-year-old son, because he won't go to sleep on his own.
Okay. So he won't go to sleep on his own. What is the situation?
So my spouse and I, we put him to bed. One of us will, so the 3 of us will go to bed. We read 3 books, and then there's like about 20 minutes during that time. Lights go out. We talk about our day, and then one of us will go to sleep. One of us will stay with him, and the other one will go to the bed. Usually me, because I have to work in the morning. Yeah. And so he has to get a drink of water. He has to have dinner. He has to, pet the cat. He has to, you name it. And it goes on and on and on.
Okay, so the situation, you're lying in bed.
Right.
And you have the thought, he won't go to sleep on his own.
Correct.
Okay. And you see him as wrestling around. He wants food. He wants water. He wants all of that.
Right. He wants one of us next to him.
Okay.
So it's a matter where we just can't put him to bed on his own and then walk out of the room. One of us has to stay with him, and it's like a 45 minutes.
So you're staying with him.
Yes.
All of that's been done. Let's say you're staying with him. Okay. Or your husband's there, whatever. Let's say you're there with him. Mm-hmm. So he won't go to sleep on his own.
It's not true.
So those of you that feel like your children won't go to sleep on their own, is it true? Now notice as you are there beside your son, notice how you react, what happens when you believe the thought, he won't go to sleep on his own.
Well, he won't. When I have the thought, he won't go to sleep on his own.
Okay.
Because the reality is he does go to sleep on his own. It's not like I conk him on the head or he gets any medication.
Okay, but notice
he falls to sleep on his own.
Yes, he does. So so your thought's not true. But notice lying there with him how you react when you believe the thought. He won't go to sleep on his own. Notice what happens to you emotionally.
I get angry and anxious.
And notice when he asks for water, how you respond, how you react when you believe the thought. He won't go to sleep on his own.
It's embarrassing.
It is. The way we react is embarrassing because we try to talk them out of it.
Exactly.
Which is what they want because they don't want to go to sleep and you're there to entertain them with every argument that they know they're going to win.
I call it mom TV.
Yeah, mom TV.
Ooh, let's turn the volume up. Yeah, this is a great show.
And this one interacts.
It's interactive, mom TV.
Yeah. Okay, so now notice who you would be without the thought he won't go to sleep on his own when he's asking for the water, when he's asking for the food, when he's saying, read to me again. And get connected. Look at his face. He's wanting, he's needing, he's... Who would you be without the thought he won't go to sleep on his own?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean,
stay with it and look at his little face. And until you experience compassion. I mean, his tricks have always worked.
Yeah.
He's got to be confused. Nothing's working. Now stay with that until you see finally he goes to sleep. There's no one to play with.
Well, I'm still there when he falls asleep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. He went to sleep on his own. Okay, so now let's do the same thing where you and your husband are both in your room and he's in his room. He won't go to sleep on his own, is it true?
When that situation happens, when we're both in our bedroom, Asher will get out of bed and come into our room.
Okay, so he won't go to sleep on his own, is it true? You know, in that case, he would just crawl up in bed with you and go to sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then we bring him back to his room.
Yeah.
This has been going on for about, well, I don't even know how long it's been going on.
Yeah. You know, for me, where my mind went with it was just watching my child, you know, because the turnaround is I won't go to sleep on my own. I have to wait for Asher.
Yes, that's true.
But wasn't true for me. It's like he won't go to sleep on his own. I won't go to sleep on my own. Okay, the house is safe. The area where he is safe. I can go to sleep.
Right.
I can go to sleep on my own. I mean, I'm asking him to do what I'm not able to do. I have to wait for Asher to go to sleep. It's all a turnaround.
Right. I can go to sleep on my own, and then my spouse is there with Asher, and I'm like, you know, would you come to bed? You know, this is our time. I want to have our.
Okay, you know, so you're doing what Asher does.
Right. I know I do.
Yeah. Okay, so it's just all a turnaround.
Okay.
You want Asher to go to sleep after the lights go out.
Correct.
On his own, without us, his parents, in the room. So turned around, I want me
to go to sleep after the lights go out on my own without
my husband,
my spouse, or
in
child.
my room.
Right, right.
Yeah. Without my spouse or my child in my room.
Okay.
And that puts you in Asher's shoes.
She's waiting for her partner to put her to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody put me to sleep.
Yeah.
I'll even call the dog in. It's okay.
Okay, you get it?
I do.
You're a working parent. You can go to sleep if you don't need to use another body to do it.
Right.
Okay, so as subtle as this may seem to you, not so subtle, but as subtle as it may seem to you, Asher's learning we all sleep together. It just takes a little manipulation, but Mommy will show me how to do that. I want Dad, she wants Dad, we're fighting over Dad, the dog.
I'm teaching manipulation. Okay.
I'm just following you. I don't know if you do or not. It's yours.
I think it's one of those things where, like Susan was saying, I'm going to have to catch up to that thought.
Yeah.
But it resonates as true.
Yeah.
Can I offer an idea?
Yes, please.
One other thought that I have, and it sort of permeates almost all of these power struggles with our kids, is if you have the story that your 4.5-year-old should be able to go to sleep alone without any involvement, because humans have slept together for thousands of years.
Humans. I thought
humans.
Yeah.
But if you have the story that your 4.5-year-old should be able to go to sleep on his own, which may well be your preference, then the way that you approach him at each evening when it's time to wrap things up will be with that. As I said, it's like you're going to be coming at him. There'll be a desperation. There'll be a neediness. I often say the worst way to begin a request of a child is, I need you too. Because it's a very disempowering place to be coming from. It's not very comforting, or in my terminology, it's not very captain-y, you know. So if you were to let go of the story that he should be able to fall asleep on his own, and you don't each night have this expectation that really is a mismatch between perhaps where he's at developmentally. Some kids, for instance, need to have like a little light on the ceiling with the constellation or the fish that play, because their minds are too active. Some need the lava lamp or a little soft music. So without the story of how he should be, what his nervous system should be ready for, then you may be better able to just parent this particular child without imposing this need you have for him to be other than he is.
Right.
And also, I see you've written here, Asher should go to sleep when the lights are out. He shouldn't cry or employ the various delay tactics. So turn it around. As a working mother, I should.
I'm looking for...
On statement 3.
Number 3, okay. I should go to sleep when the lights are out. I shouldn't cry, beg for anybody else, or employ the various delay tactics.
Yeah.
Get out of my bedroom, you two.
Yeah. I'm a working mother. You do fine together, and I've trained you well enough. I don't have to worry about you.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at 4. I need Asher to go to sleep. Oh, you know, I had a thought there, too, when we got to I should go to sleep when the lights are out. Right. I shouldn't cry for my husband or anything else, or employ the various delay tactics. And in that, I might discover what works for me to do that. And it could be that list that Susan just pointed to.
Oh, the lava lamp. And
yes. And whatever that is, you can share with your son. This is what works for me. It doesn't mean he's going to listen or care. But since they learn from us everything we think we know, then we have a lot to teach them when we're living what we expected them to live. But right now, you're not living what you are expecting him to live. And so he'll learn through you, and you'll learn through you. And you have learned through him, which this work is showing us. So let's look at 4. I need me.
I need me to go to sleep by 8 p.m. on my own without anybody lying next to me.
Yes. You're a working mother.
And I do that, actually.
Yeah. Good. Good.
So,
and to do it without the worry and stress.
Right. And then in the meantime, my spouse is in the bedroom, you know, in my son's room, in our son's room, like putting Asher to sleep.
Mm-hmm. That's his child. You know, you're raising your child. You need rest for that. You do it in the way that seems best to you. And that's his child too. And those are his parenting skills. And when you're rested, you can discuss them with him.
I think I need to do a workshop on my spouse. I mean, a worksheet on my spouse.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Parenting techniques.
Because that's where, you know, allowing him or her to sort of have their own experience of parenting that child. And
then read 5.
5.
Asher is.
Asher is, or I am?
Asher is.
Asher is, it's so cruel to say about him.
Well, you know, it doesn't mean that he is, but it's the way we see our children sometimes in that situation, because what we're thinking and believing, you know, it doesn't look like great parenting, but we're looking at the thoughts that are causing our stress. Yeah. And when we question them, we come to see that they're just not true. Now, that's good parenting, clear-mindedness.
Yeah. Wow.
So Asher is manipulated manipulative, frustrating, insensitive. He's keeping me up because I need to get to sleep for work in the morning.
Okay. So in that situation with Asher and my husband, I am
manipulative, frustrating, insensitive. I'm keeping me up because I need to get to work in the morning.
Yes.
Or I'm keeping Asher up because he needs to get to school in the morning.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't ever want
Asher to. This was one of those when I reread the worksheet. I'm like, I do want him to need us. I do want.
See, isn't that funny? I want to raise this needy kid, and then I'm going to punish him when he's needy. Aren't we weird? The mind is weird. No wonder we're confused.
No wonder he's confused. He's only 4.5.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't even want to read it, Katie.
Okay.
I don't want it to be true.
Okay.
Well, but it's not true. Okay, so I don't ever want Asher to need us by his side to go to sleep.
I'm willing to.
So I'm willing to have Asher need us by his side to go to sleep, to cry or have a tantrum when he goes to bed, and to employ the various tactics so he puts off falling asleep.
Yeah, I look forward to Asher
needing us by his side, crying and having tantrums, and employing the various delay tactics. Actually, they're really quite amusing.
Yeah, yeah. When we are compassionately connected to our child, it's like we're watching a movie of ourselves and how we react. It's so clear that they are just little mirrors of us, and if we don't experience compassion there, and when we see them that way, then if we haven't before, we can see it as as I just experienced through your eyes. And Cynthia, thank you.
Thank you,
Katie.
Cynthia.
Thanks.
Oh, so much fun. Aloha.
Good to see you again.
I'd say so much fun, and for some of us, it feels like going to the dentist's office on one hand, and it feels like we're in a kind of euphoria on the other. But balance does happen as your mind continues to clear, and you see what's true and what isn't true for you. I saw an image. I saw an image, Susan, of my children just roaming. One of my children just roaming through the house. I was asleep, and some of us, we get up in the morning, we see one of them curled up on the floor, sleeping in the chairs, and you wonder how in the world, But they always found their little way
to sleep.
Yeah, I have one son. In about 2 a.m., I went to check on the kids, and he wasn't in his bed, and I looked around the house, and he wasn't there, and the wind was blowing. And it was wintry, and it was wonderful and marvelous, and there was a full moon, and I went outside, and in those days we had those little they called them Hot Wheels, and they were like little tricycles, and he was out in the street, in the quiet, in the dark, just going up and down the street, having the time of his life. At the time, I was absolutely horrified. But they can go to sleep on their own. But, thank goodness I have the work now, because it takes a lot to bolt up your house for a little 5 or 6 year old. Oh, how old was he? Maybe 4 or 5. Oh my goodness.
Imagine the stories.
Oh my goodness.
Because then what we do is we fold in so many shoulds, so many voices from what others are thinking of us. Your child's having the meltdown in the grocery store. It's such a common one. Yeah. And not only are we disconnected from our child because of our own frustration and anxiety, but then we're telling the story that we think people around us are telling about us.
Yeah. Yeah. Children are just, we teach them. One of my favorite stories is watching my daughter Roxanne and her husband. It's like Marley, when she was just a tiny little thing, she'd say, Mommy, I want ice cream, maybe before dinner. And Roxanne would just look at her and say, honey, I love you, and no. And she would just go on and play. It was
Honey,
over.
I love
just
you
done.
and no.
It was over. Wow. And then her daddy would come home. And he sends, does the work, and as he's really catching up to Roxanne when it comes to parenting. But he would come home and she'd, Daddy, I want ice cream. And no, honey, you can't have it before dinner. And she'd go, oh, Daddy, please, please. No, honey, you can. And she, whatever it took until he said, yes, maybe just a little. So, but if you look at this little girl, this please, oh Daddy, please, oh please, this miserable child just trying to push every button, manipulation, and then you look at the child with the mother, she could completely trust her answer. God, I love you and no. And the child just goes off and plays.
Yes. With
the other parent, the laboring. And what an opportunity to learn manipulation. Wow. So how are we parenting when our mind is clear? It's when our mind is clear on it's as though we're the best parent finally in the world for ourselves, yes. And it spills over. Mercy.
And that's that clarity, and that's such a great, I love the example. Just captures the whole picture, which is when your daughter is in a place of not being needy, not needing her daughter to like her or be cheerful or happy with your answer.
She's connected. She's compassionate. Yes. She saw she wanted ice cream. There was nothing missing there that I could see.
Right. And, one of the things I talk a lot about, I want to just touch on for people to think about is that when we think of the fact that we're raising we're not raising children, we're really raising adults.
Yeah.
That if a child is to grow into a resilient adult who doesn't stalk their girlfriend when she breaks up with him, right? Or, have a meltdown when they, don't get a job, then it's in the course of their childhood that they develop the resilience. And it comes from our faith in them. I have faith in you that you will be able to survive no ice cream. And so I use a whole model of helping children treat frustration almost as loss. Mm-hmm. And I see the difference between a parent who's believing that they can't survive or their child can't survive not getting what they want, and the parent like Roxanne who can totally stand in a place of love, trusting.
I've seen her like put Marley, of course Marley's like 11 now, but I've seen her like put Marley in timeout when she was just a little, and maybe we were out for dinner and having a lot of fun, and it was really clear she wanted Marley in timeout. It was appropriate, and so she would go sit with her in timeout.
Yeah,
and it's like they learn to be still together. And it gave Marley time to contemplate without mother saying, well, here, you this, you that, you that.
Yeah.
It's just to contemplate. And she might ask, do you know why? Are you aware of why I put you in timeout? And it would just be very simple, and they just were still. Or maybe she wouldn't ask at all. It was, always clear. Roxanne was very clear with her. But Marley learned to be still, work through her stuff on her own, because her mother could be still and drop everything to be with her.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that long.
No.
It didn't take that long. It's like not forever. It was beautiful to watch.
We don't have so much time. We have about 5 minutes. Would you want to answer one of the questions that came in, Katie? There's a question. I don't know how any of these are going to...
Here's a Yana from Washington.
Do you want to read that?
Yeah, she says, hi, Byron and Susan. My child has an issue with impulse control that causes a lot of back and forth with simple tasks such as doing homework, brushing teeth at night, cleaning up her room without being prodded. I so desperately want to be a positive parent, but lose my patience and find that yelling, timeout, and threats are the only thing that get my child to have a shift in behavior. Please help. And
boy, we could spend half an hour on that one. But 5 minutes.
But the short version for me would be to sit with and say, how does this apply to myself so that I can better understand my child? When I understand myself better, I understand my child. So it would be, I have an issue with my child's impulse to control that causes a lot of back and forth with simple tasks in my life.
Right.
Such as doing my homework.
Right.
And if it's not my homework, what is it? What else could it be? But there's something there.
Yeah.
Simple tasks such as brushing my teeth at night or cleaning up my room. Now, this is the room that I deal with. When this is clear, the room in my material world is clear. And the rest of my life, but this first and then the world. So I clean up my room without being prodded. I so desperately want me to be a positive parent, but lose my patience and find that yelling time out and threats are the only thing I know to do to get a shift in my behavior. And really are when we do prod them into it, and do we really feel better in the long run? So I would do a worksheet on it. Of course, that's my way. I don't want to miss anything. But these turnarounds sometimes when you have the work in you at a deeper level, it doesn't feel like a knife in your heart. It feels like awakening, like it shows you how to live. Your statements 2, 3, and 4 on the Judge Your Neighbor's worksheet, when you turn them around to the self, and the other, it shows you how to live in the world, and it shows you how to live with others in the world. And it shows a lot more than that. But they're living turnarounds if you've filled in the worksheet.
Yeah.
And there's one here. How do you co-parent with a...
This is such a long one. I think we might have to save this for the next week.
Good.
I know
okay,
so
where do you think we should go?
We could wrap it up. And I really urge people to understand what Katie's talking about here with the worksheet. At thework.com, you can download that. There are actually people that are trained facilitators of the work.
Yeah, we have certified facilitators. If you go to thework.com, you can find them in your language and your country, and they're amazing. They really have a lot of experience in their work to have their profile up on the website, which you can read their profiles. Also, we have a helpline that is free, and you don't need to give us your name or city or country. You just call with a worksheet ready, and they'll work you through it until you can work it on your own.
And I've done that. I've used that helpline many times. So this idea of impulsivity, just to put a little piece on the end of that, a child's brain develops from back to front. This is the last part of the brain to come on board and to theoretically mature. It's not until we're about 25. And this part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, manages impulsivity, organization, cause and effect, all those qualities. So when we look at impulsivity, just in terms of that last question, some of it again is if we adjust our expectations to be realistic and match who our particular child is. Some kids, there's a significant lag. A 12-year-old may have the prefrontal, the ability to manage their impulses more in line with an 8 or 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And so some of it is being, you use the word a lot, at war with what is. And when you move into a place with whatever child you have, I have a child who loses his way in the middle of starting homework or brushing his teeth, and you're in a place of throwing the snapshot away, and you can explore more deeply, well, how do I show up with those same qualities, which I think is what you were saying.
Yeah.
So much opens up.
And it's interesting in a situation like that. to see how, if when we're impatient with them, to notice how impatient we are with ourselves.
I love that.
And when we're judging them, to notice how those same cruel judgments, those harsh judgments we use on ourselves, as though that kind of violence, and it is violent, those kind of that kind of violence is going to spur us into a more productive behavior. But that is fear-based, and love is the power. And so, this work does bring us home to the heart. And I feel like when we're doing this, I move so quickly through everything. And maybe you could just, maybe Stan could put one out.
Replay it in slow motion.
But I always want to get as much in as I possibly can, and I just end you. And so announcements. The work on parenting, May 27th, live. We're going to do this again.
Yeah.
And I really look forward to that. And you can find that at thework.com or susanstiffelman.com. And the No Body Intensive is coming up June 1st through 5th here in Ojai at the Ojai Valley Inn and Spa. And then I'll be in Omega for 3 days, the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck. I really look forward to that on my way to Europe. And then I'm doing the European tour. I look forward to seeing all of you that can possibly make it in Amsterdam, Engelberg, Paris, Zurich, Cologne, and eventually my last event in Bad Neuenahr at the 9-day school in Germany. And so...
So thank you, all of you, for participating, for taking that leap. Some of you are familiar with the work, and you've just been sort of soaking in another opportunity. And for others, it has been a leap. So hang in there with us. Stay with it. Yeah. There are worlds of freedom that can open up with this.
Yeah, the work may seem tough. The only thing more difficult than the work is not having the work in your life. And I can say that because the work really is a way. It's a way to tap into your own wisdom, and that's the invitation.
Thank you all. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Susan. Bye-bye.